let's take a look at the marriage supper of the Lamb. Matthew 22, verses 1 through 14. This is one of the next great events in the history of mankind, in the future of mankind, I guess, that is going to happen very, very soon. The marriage supper of the Lamb. Matthew 22, verses 1 through 14. And Jesus answered and spoke unto them again by parables, and he said, The kingdom of heaven is like unto a certain king, which made a marriage for his son. And he sent forth his servants to call them that were bidden to the wedding. They would not come. Now, these bidden or invited guests had already been previously invited to the wedding. They were aware of it, but they ignored the invitation. Verse 4. Again, he sent forth other servants, saying, Tell them which are bidden, Behold, I have prepared my dinner, my oxen and my fatlings are killed, and all things are ready. Come unto the marriage. But they made light of it, and went their own ways, one to his farm, another to his merchandise. And the remnant took his servants, entreated them spitefully, and killed them. The king went out of his way to encourage them to attend, but still they refused. Verse 7. But when the king heard thereof, he was angry, and he sent forth his armies and destroyed those murderers and burned up their city. How foolish it is to refuse the king's invitation. Now, in this culture, 2 invitations were expected when weddings and banquets were given. The first asked the guests to attend. The second announced that all was ready. The third was when the guests were called upon, picked up to be brought to the event. These guests had already accepted the first invitation to attend, but refused to attend when the second invitation, the reminder, came. These guests were invited 3 times. After having originally agreed to come, these people refused the last 2 invitations. Everything was ready, but these guests placed a higher priority on their farms and their businesses, deciding not to go to the wedding feast. Not only did they deny the king, but they killed the king's servants. Verse 8. Then he said to his servants, The wedding is ready, but they which were invited were not worthy. Go out therefore into the highways, and as many as you shall find, bid them come to the marriage. So those servants went out into the highways and gathered together all, as many as they found, both bad and good, deserving and not deserving, and the wedding was furnished with the guests. Verse 11, check this out. Verse 11. And when the king came in to see the guests, now remember, this was not the king's wedding, it was the wedding for the king's son. When the king came in to see the guests, he saw there was a man which had not on a wedding garment. He wasn't dressed appropriately. And the king said unto him, Friend, how did you come in here not having a wedding garment? And the man was speechless. Access denied. this guest. He showed up just as he was, yet he was not permitted to attend. Why? Doesn't Jesus invite us to come as we are? Of course he does. So what happened? This guest was ill prepared. He failed to wear the wedding clothes that would have been provided by the king when the guests arrived. He either refused the wedding clothes that were offered at the door, or simply neglected the king's offer and wanted to wear his own covering. He came as he was and wanted to remain in his old clothes and condition. He refused to acknowledge his unworthiness. He had been invited by the king, but his heart was not right. He wanted to provide his own covering. Remember the 7 women in Isaiah chapter 4, verse 1? And in that day 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, we will eat our own bread, we will wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach. Let's see what happens to this guest when the king found out. Verse 13. Then said the king to his servants, bind him hand and foot, take him away, and cast him into outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. For many are called, but few are chosen. Does this sound like salvation is once saved, always saved? Access denied. Let's move back to John chapter 15, verses 4, 5, and 6. John 15, verses 4, 5, and 6. Abide in me, and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit of itself, except it abide in the vine, no more can you, except you abide in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. He that abides in me, and I in him, that same person brings forth much fruit. For without me, you can do nothing. If a man does not abide in me, he is cast forth as a branch and is withered. Men gather them, cast them into the fire, they are burned. Access denied.